14 minutes after the 12 o'clock. Welcome back to the Newtimes program for Tuesday, the 13th of February. I'm your host, Clement Francois. Just to remind you that we're also streaming live on the NDP Facebook page and YouTube channel. And with us today is MP Fitz Bramble, representative for East Kingston. He is with us also. Okay, so let me again say pleasant welcome back, Brother Fitz.
Yeah, but thank you for having me back, and thank you for having all of us. Let me just say thanks to all the listeners and so on for entertaining me today, and hopefully this will be worth your while listening today because we have a very important task ahead of us. We meaning the New Democratic Party, and by extension the people of this country, and that task is to create a movement for change. You know, the movement has started, but we have to complete it. And we have to complete it by making sure that that change comes. You know, I was telling a lady the other day about, but friend of mine, she's a confessed ULP supporter. We go good, you know, and everything. I'm trying to woo her to get her support next time around. I told her, I made the comment. I said, listen, I don't want you to leave your party, you know. You know, you're a Unity Labour Party supporter, no problem. Stay with your party. All I want you to do next election is just to lend me a vote that one time. Let me borrow your vote that one time. And I guarantee you, when we get into government, not only will you give us the vote permanently, but you will leave the ULP and join us. And she laughed and we made fun with it. But that's the approach we had to take because we need. But the point was, I was making the point, board, talking about change. I said to them, I said to the same lady, I said, look, you know, sometimes people speak as if Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and the Unity Labour Party will never, ever be out of office. I said to them, I said, there will come a time when they will no longer be there. I don't need to go into the factors that may cause that. We are hoping that sooner rather than later, the democratic process would remove them via the ballot. But there are other ways, natural and unnatural, that they will not be there in the next 50 to 100 years. Some people, a lot of us won't even remember who Ralph Gonsalves was. Well, a lot of people who would be living then, because we would all be gone. You know, you ask some of these youngsters today, who was Robert Milton Cato? Who was Ebenezer Theodore Joshua? They don't know. So the point I'm making is that when we have our time, let's try to make the best use of our time to help to develop each other, because our time will come to an end just like everybody else's. And that's the reality. The problem with our situation right now, from where I sit and how I analyze it, is that we cannot afford to continue under Ralph Gonsalves and the Unity Labour Party for any longer, because the damage might become irreparable. And I because these guys, they are so proficient with making promises and breaking promises. And I want to, but if you would allow me to just refer
go right ahead.
Just to refer to, and I made mention of it when I did my budget presentation a couple of weeks ago. But we have here the St. Vincent and the Grenadines National Economic and Social Development Plan 2013 to 2025. This is a photocopy of it, right? Right here. Now, this is the plan established, set up by our government, our present administration, to guide their governance and their governing for the next, for the 12-year period between 2013 and 2025. Okay? Now, let me just quickly refer to, they have several goals that the plan outlines, which these goals, if accomplished, would really take our country to higher heights with regards to improving the quality of lives of our people. Remember, this plan was written and adopted since 2013. So we're talking about 11 years ago. So they have had 11 years to try to do something with this plan. And listen to the goals, listen to what they say they were going to do. All right? Under goal number 1, re-engineering economic growth. And these are some of the objectives. One, to maintain strong economic fundamentals. What are economic fundamentals? Unemployment, well, employment, economic growth, inflation, fiscal policy, meaning government spending and revenue, taxes, and so on, international trade. That is what they say they're going to do now, maintain strong macroeconomic fundamentals. What happened to unemployment since 2013 or even before that? Economic growth, inflation, fiscal policy, government spending with and say they're going to spend where they do. Somebody call it some time ago voodoo economics. You're spending where you do, and you don't know where the money coming from. You're promising to spend and you don't know where the money coming from. International trade. Our trade deficit has been the largest ever. And I'd like to break down my things so people could understand it. The trade deficit is the difference between the money that you spend to import stuff into the country and the money that you earn from exporting stuff. In 2021, which is the latest data that I have, St. Vincent and the Grenadines spent a whopping $1.5 billion on importing merchandise goods into this country. You hear what I'm telling you? $1.5 billion and something 100,000. I can't remember the exact figure, but $1.005 billion importing goods into this country. And you know how much we earn from exports? A whopping total of $93 million. They say no make up story, you know. The facts, the data is there. You could go on any of the reputable websites, including our local stats department. $93 million we exported in 2021 and import over $1 billion.
So not even that 1/10.
That's the point I'm making. And it's not for lack of anything other than poor governance, because there's so many avenues for growing this economy. There are so many ways we can grow our economy under the 4 pillars that we have identified. And some of these ways we have already highlighted. Let me give you one quick example on the agriculture. Okay? Because I come prepared today, you know. I mean, I'm always prepared, but I'm extra prepared today because I don't know Mr. Man, and I ain't gonna say who. Mr. Man like to go up on radio and hold up manifesto and talk about who thief the plan and who thief this. Well, he must be an expert in thieving, because he gonna know who thief and who ain't thief. But that's another story. That is another story for another time. Listen, bud, there's something called the Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act, right? Allow me to just quickly highlight what it's about. The Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act was enacted by the United States of America in 1983, right? Remember we had the Caribbean Basin Initiative on the Ronald Reagan?
I remember that.
All right. The act seeks to enlarge economic growth and development in Caribbean countries by promoting increased production and exports. It was designed to provide duty-free entry of goods into the United States from designated beneficiary countries. It was further expanded in the year 2000 by the United States Caribbean Basin Trade Partnership Act, which is scheduled to expire on September the 30th, 2030, and later again within the Trade Act of 2002. This act has no official expiration date. So here are the countries. So we have now, the United States has offered us a mechanism, a means of sending our goods, exporting our goods into the US duty-free. Duty-free, you know, which means that when St. Vincent exports goods, once these goods are on this list, you become much more competitive because you could afford to charge a lower price because your cost is much lower. You don't have to pay no import duty, so your cost is lower. You could compete now. So if let me say, for example, arrowroot, or let's say something that could come from another. Let's say sweet potatoes is on the list. This is just hypothetical, right? Now we are allowed to export sweet potatoes into the United States duty free, and another country may not be allowed to do so. That country, when their sweet potatoes get to the US, they have to pay duty. So they might end up charging $5 a pound for sweet potatoes because it costing them to get the sweet. Whereas we we could probably charge say $2 or $3 because we ain't had to pay no duty. So if we charge less than the country that has to pay duty, more than likely, as they say in basic economics, when price goes down, demand goes up. So we have a lower price, more people are going to buy, we're going to be more competitive, and the whole thing, we're going to benefit. So the point is, you have 17 countries that's been afforded this privilege by the United States, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? The report shows that the main imports, there's a total of 17 beneficiary countries, which comprises Antigua, Aruba, Antigua and Barbuda, Aruba, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, British Virgin Islands, Curacao, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago. All right. Now, in 2022, let me just quickly, because I ain't gonna think, the Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act report shows that the main imports from St. Vincent and the Grenadines over the period 2018 to 2022 were fresh and chilled taro, which is dasheen, fruits, arrowroot flour, and peppers. See the table below showing the value of U.S. import from St. Vincent under the act. So let me just pull out one. Let me look for St. Vincent and the Grenadines here. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in 2022, but in 2022, under this act, the products that we exported to the United States duty-free, including arrowroot flour, dasheen, peppers, fruits, amounted to $129,450 US.
Million, you mean, right?
With $129,450 US. That is how much we earned from exporting duty-free products into the United States in 2022.
Brooklyn alone could buy that in dasheen.
Listen, wait now. Guyana exported 475,987,371 US dollars, taking advantage of this Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act. Let me find a more comparative country. Let's see. Let me see with Dominica, like Grenada. Grenada exported 3,974,000 US dollars. US dollars, you know. And you know the interesting thing here, boy. On that list of duty-free items is arrowroot and arrowroot flour. Yeah. How many countries in the world does produce arrowroot? And we can't take advantage of that.
And that's a product which we could almost set a price.
We control the market because it's almost a monopoly.
Yeah.
It's almost, and not only that, but there's so much volume in demand for arrowroot and arrowroot flour. I could tell you, I lived in the States and Canada, and you hear people talk about gluten-free diets and all of that. Everybody on a health phase now. Arrowroot flour has been determined to be one of the healthiest products for people to consume. I don't have the scientific details, but I know that. I could research the details and bring it back to you in a later program. But the fact of the matter is, there's a market, a serious market for arrowroot and arrowroot flour. And that's just arrowroot alone I talking, you know. Me ain't talking about dasheen, I ain't talking about Edo, I ain't talking about all the different, you know, intrinsic produce that we produce here. So you're talking about growing the economy because you could increase your export earnings exponentially. Not only that, you have an opportunity to create thousands of jobs because you could increase the acreage of arrowroot production. So you could hire a lot of farmers and encourage them to get into arrowroot production. And you set up your processing plant to make your arrowroot flour and add other values to the arrowroot plant, like making baby food. You remember when you must you been
No, I eat that, man. I get some of that.
Drink Arroot pap, man. What you know about Arroot pap?
I mean, I get some of that, man. No, I ain't so far.
You could make your baby formula. I mean,
Yes.
so many things you can add value to that Arroot. So the point I'm making here, Board, is that in the 2013 to 2025 National Economic and Social Development Plan, this government, this ULP government has again failed on their promises, because the goals and the objectives that they have outlined here, every single one of them that I'm going to highlight quickly now have gone in the opposite direction. So the first one, to maintain strong economic fundamentals, well, I don't go through that. I'll give an example, an extended example of Arroot and the Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act. Another objective is to enhance the role of the private sector and manufacturing in economic and social development in conjunction with the state and cooperative sectors. You want me really go into that? The program might take, I ain't got enough time. Which cooperative sectors we have? First of all.
If we had those, the prime minister won't be talking the craziness he's talking.
Which private sector? This government owes the private sector well in excess of $100 million for where they trust. Let me use the old people language, where they trusting from the businesses and won't pay. They go and they trust goods. You know, you hire businesses to do work and they won't pay them. The prime minister himself said that in parliament. I think it was last year. I asked a question and a follow-up, and he said, oh, right now the government's indebtedness to the private sector is somewhere around the 100 million. That was his mannerism. And I said, I seriously doubt that. That was my response. And that was a dead horse right there, you know? So that objective, according to this plan, failed, undelivered promise by this government. To attain a strong and sustainable external trade position. That's what the plan said they were going to do. No? That's what this plan said it was going to do. And I just outlined to you that in 2021, we imported over $1 billion worth of merchandise and only exported 93 million. Failed objective again in this plan. Failed to deliver on the promise. But listen to this one. I know you're going to laugh and jump out your seat. Another objective under goal number 2. Goal number 2 says to enabling increased human and social development. One of the objectives, one right at the very top, to reduce poverty. That's where the government's plan. But this thing is so funny. It ain't even laughable, but you have to laugh. To reduce poverty. We all know that in this country, poverty, the incidence of poverty and extreme poverty has increased tremendously. And that is why they don't want to do the poverty assessment survey. They don't want to do the household poverty survey. That is why the household census exercise is delayed and you ain't hearing nothing about it. It was supposed to have been completed since September. This is February and we ain't hearing nothing. When is the census going to be completed? Because the census will reveal some very important information with regards to the quality of life of our people, including poverty.
And they don't want to touch that.
They're not going to touch it because it is going to be a serious indictment on them. And they can't cost the report, you know, and they can't cost the enumerators and whoever. But they could come and cost Bramble because they're always trying to say, oh, all they don't know what all they're talking about. Always just, the NDP is just anti-Ralph and anti-ULP. But there's nothing anti about your failed promises. There's nothing anti-ULP from when we highlight the truth, when we bring the evidence and show the data. You said in your plan, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez and your Unity Labour Party said in your 2013 to 2035 National Economic and Social Development Plan that you will reduce poverty. You said it. And nothing has gone in that direction. In fact, the international agencies have established what we call the poverty line, where they do an assessment of what is necessary for people to find basic things to live. basic food, basic clothing, basic shelter, and what have you. And they have determined, I think the last time they established the poverty line was a few years ago, and they have determined that it would take 50, I think it was about $6 US, about 15 EC dollars per day for an individual to be considered not living below the poverty line. Now, boy, try to imagine $15 a day, EC. You hardly could get your child $15 a day for that is just one meal. $15 a day, you know. Anybody who's living under $15 a day is considered to be living below the poverty line. The last time we checked, the incidence of poverty, the rate of poverty in St. Vincent, when they did the last poverty assessment, I think was 2008, they claimed that it was somewhere around 30%. BS. I am quite sure it is close to 50% now.
Yeah, it's a lot more than 30.
Because you cannot seriously tell me that somebody could survive on $15 a day and consider that to be a decent standard of living. Because when you take inflation into account, what you could have gotten for $15 a day in 2008 it's going to cost you almost $30 a day for get the same thing on them. You understand? I tell you, come prepared today, you know. I ain't joking.
Because the $15 a day, which a lot of us have to try and survive on, by the way, can't give you 3 healthy meals, you know.
But 3 healthy, but you be nice.
You have to be buying something to fill up your belly, and not necessarily something nutritious, a $5 something here, and then we're going to run into,
then you're going to run into the health issues because you can't afford to buy. How much for a pound of tomato now? I think the other day I said a pound of tomato for over $10.
I put it back. I had to put it back. I couldn't manage.
I telling you, you know. So let me continue real quickly because I know if people want to call in, let me interact.
Yeah, I'll give them up because I'll give them just before 1 and after 1 we get. So you go ahead.
So another objective under goal number 2, enabling increased human and social development. This is the second one under poverty, to create jobs and reduce the levels of unemployment. This is yo, man, listen.
But Fitz, with all due respect, the increased road work.
Huh?
The increased road work. Oh, you said
jobs. I come into that.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
I'll come into that in a minute. So
we all know between jobs and one day 2 day work.
Yes, to create jobs and reduce the levels of unemployment. I have a question for the minister next parliament. I don't want to give it away too much, but when you talk about creating jobs and reducing unemployment, I've been using this scenario of recent times. Let me take, for example, the Community College Board. I think over the last few years, they've been averaging about 700 students graduating. That's community college alone. I ain't talking about secondary school students who do not go on to community college. So let me say you have 700 students graduating from the community college in this year. All right. Let me create some scenarios here. You might have 100 of them might get a scholarship to go to university, right? I'm being generous with the numbers here. 100 of them might get a walk, maybe on the YES program or the SET program, right? That's 200. Okay, 100 get scholarship to go study. 100 of them might get a walk. Another 100 might go overseas to meet the family.
Yeah,
that's 300, right? What other category are missing in terms of doing something? That's 300 out of 700. 100 get scholarships to go with, 100 walk in, 100 go and meet the family. Okay, let me give them another 100 who might be able to go and study on their own. You still have 300 of them who they're home doing nothing. And this is every year, and this is a generous figure because I'm quite sure it's much more than that. And if you add the numbers from the secondary schools who do not go on to community college, you're talking about at the very least, 1,000 young people every single year coming out of school with nothing to do. We've got to sit down and think about these things, you know, and crunch the numbers. I don't think I'm being far-fetched with my scenario. I don't think I'm being unrealistic with my scenario, you know. And it is true. It is true that the government cannot provide jobs and all of that for everybody. But they have failed miserably. They have failed miserably in providing the environment, for economic and social development in this country. And that is why we find ourselves in this economic malaise, because the very plan that they're supposed to be following, every single indicator is going in the opposite direction. They say they're going to reduce poverty, poverty increase. They say they're going to reduce unemployment, unemployment increase. They say they're going to reduce our balance of trade, the balance of trade deficit increase, and on and on and on. So I don't understand when the New Democratic Party comes and we gave our message, our persistent and consistent message of how we are going to build this economy, how we are going to grow this economy, create jobs, grow the economy, expand the tax base, because the more people working is more people paying taxes. True. So we won't have to go and borrow money from NIS to pay back NIS. We won't have to borrow money from couriers to pay public servants, because we're going to have plenty of people working, paying taxes and expanding the tax base. We will be able to now generate a current account surplus, which is something that this administration has never done. Never done. Every single year they're spending more than they're making. Every single year since they took office. And the fiscal responsibility, wait, what you think are easy to do? Let me give you a joke board. Watch. The fiscal responsibility mechanism. This book here, this is the report for 2022. This was done by a committee, well, a mechanism that was set up by the government. The IMF had encouraged the fiscal responsibility framework, and within that framework, a mechanism is set up to basically monitor government's behavior with regards to how they spend in taxpayers' money. This committee that we have, this mechanism that we have here, consists of the former Director General of Finance and Planning, Maurice Edwards, Dr. Linton Lewis, Brian Glasgow, renowned accountant, Shafia London, excellent businesswoman, and CEO of one of the leading companies in the Caribbean, Dr. Justin Robinson, lecturer at UWI. I think those are the five. I haven't forgotten anybody. And they did a report. They did a report in 2022 outlining how the government needs to conduct its fiscal activities. And one of the things, maybe after the break, I'm gonna find the exact section. But one of the things that they recommend, they're saying that starting in 2024, the government must be able to realize at least a 2.7% current account surplus, right? Because, and one of the reasons they're saying this is because we are in such indebtedness. We owe so much money in debt that we had to find the money somewhere to start to pay back our debt. Otherwise, what's going to happen, as the IMF and the World Bank highlighted, we run a very high risk of being in debt distress, meaning we will not be able to pay back our debt if they continue down the road they're going, where you can't generate a current account surplus, so you're not making enough money to not only to cover your expenses, but you have a little extra to pay back your debt. Yeah. And also, if you're running a high risk of debt distress, there's a lot of possibilities. A lot of things could happen. The already very poor healthcare sector is going to suffer even more, because you ain't have money to spend on the healthcare sector. All of these non-productive sectors, the education sector is going to suffer tremendously. Security and social security is going to suffer, and on and on and on. And that is why it is important to have the 4 pillars of economic development that we have been pushing. You must make them successful. You must make them effective, efficient, productive, profitable. So you're going to have money to be able to prop up and develop the sectors which don't generate money, like education and health and social security. It's basic common sense. You don't even need economics to understand this. You know what I'm saying?
You know, Fitz, one thing that was the NDP was noted for is that when you have these projects, because some of these oversee lending organization, for example, if you want 10 million for a project, they're going to say, well, you have to put in 4 and we'll lend you 6. And a lot of time, the New Democratic Party had that 4 million to put. Under this government, they never have it, and they always would have to borrow the 4 in order to come and get the other 6 to borrow again. So and that is where we in a dilemma.
Boy, yeah, real low, man. You're on to something. Listen, let me tell you something about. You see this thing about borrowing, you see all this indebtedness that we find ourselves in. This is way more serious than we think. Way more serious than we think, because it starts from, first of all, taking a critical look of why and how we find ourselves in this debt situation. Why does anybody borrow money to begin with?
Because they don't have.
Normally, and even if you want to put it down to basic, to the regular man on the street, right? Me and you both, the normal man out there, we are normal people. If you go somewhere to borrow money, you have to have a reason for borrowing. And not only that, but in the back of your mind, you're borrowing the money with either one of 2 things. It's either you ain't intend to pay it back, well, one of 3 things. You ain't intend to pay it back, say, tricking him and say, boy, lend me $5 now, go pay it back next week. And you know fully well you ain't going to pay him back. Or you would not be able to pay him back. Or you have a plan of how you're going to pay back. In the case of this particular administration, they don't have a plan of how they're going to pay back. And I think in some instances, they probably say, hey, we're going to try and wiggle ourselves out of this, and we go borrow the money.
Forgiveness after
you see when Alba Bank, when Petro-Carib forgave us 100 million the other day, how they come and they brag and they carry on, you ain't nothing but that again,
Because the same example you join. So every time I meet you, Fitz, I say, boy, I know I owe you and I go pay you. And then they come, you say, man, but don't bother that, man.
and you know what's going to happen? After a while, if you're strong enough and if you have enough resources, and I'm using the term very loosely, let me say I borrow the money from you for build a step in front of my house. You might come with a sledgehammer and mash up my step and say, man, I can't get back my money, so I licking up your steps. Or in a more formal setting, if you borrow the money from a bank to buy a car and you ain't paying back the loan, they repossess the car. In the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, much of what we use our borrowed money for, you can't physically pick it up and take it and go somewhere with it. But if you notice in certain parts of Africa, and I think I was hearing in Jamaica as well, where you have a lot of instances where the Chinese go in now and they lend you money, they lend a country money to build a port, and they ain't pay back the Chinese going to take over the port.
You're talking about the money.
You know, God forbid that happens here. But, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist, I'm just trying to be a realist.
You know,
I want to encourage, while we're on that issue, you see this book here? This is called The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Pawkins. Anybody who's interested in reading and who's interested in understanding the implications of getting yourself into debt as a nation, get a copy of this book and read it. Trust me, boy. And I haven't finished reading this as yet. A friend of mine from New York sent this to me. He said, Bramble, you're in politics, you have to read that book there. I reach about chapter 4. I am convinced that our Prime Minister is an economic hitman. He had to be an economic hitman. But as I said, try to get a copy of the book, read it. I could just Google it. You could Google economic hitman and you could get some idea as to what it talks about. So anyway, quickly again, we're talking about the economic and social development plan, because my intention today is to dissect the actions of our government and to show the people of this country where the Unity Labour Party administration under Dr. Ralph Gonsalves for the last 23 years has basically, in large measure, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, I am not like that, in large measure has basically failed to deliver on their promises. Even an official document such as the National Economic and Social Development Plan, they have failed to successfully implement this plan. And that is the difference. That will be the difference between them and a New Democratic Party administration, because we know what it takes. We know what is necessary to uplift the people of this country. And we have been outlining it, and we will continue. We stayed on message. Don't mind don't mind the Prime Minister coming on and trying to rubbish people and talk about who thief thing out the manifesto. And let me just say something about that real quickly, because I think it's time enough we start to call out the Prime Minister. The reality is both, and I made a comment in our chat last night about this. The reality is that there are certain intrinsic things to our country. Our size, our location. We have a large marine resource. We have more seawater resource than land resource. You know, we are prone to hurricanes and natural disasters. All of those things point us to the direction of what we have been pointing out as necessary for development.
But
agriculture, tourism, because of our location and so on, our attractiveness. The blue economy because of our marine resources. And the new economy, robotics, artificial intelligence, promoting our arts and culture because of the knowledge, the skills, and the resilience of our people. Those are given, those are established realities. Whether Ralph and them say so, or NDP say so,
you know,
in reality, the difference
if we find oil, then we could say, okay, we switch to oil, but I mean, the resources of a small nation like this.
And I love how Dr. Friday hit him for 6. He come in and talking about we thief their thing. Say, how long they been talking about this? And they have not delivered every single promise they've made with regards to agriculture, tourism, blue economy, and what have you. They have failed to deliver. So he should be ashamed. He ain't ashamed. Dog eat the conscience when he come in and talking about NDP thief his plans. Give me a break.
You know, Fitz, 2 things I want to quickly speak on. That is it. One is the borrowing.
The what?
The borrowing.
Yeah.
Borrowing. You have something for sure. If you don't have a tangible asset, then it must be because you're educated. You borrowing, and at the end of the time, a man asks you what you have. You don't have nothing to show. It don't make sense.
The two biggest projects that we have invested in the history of this country, the Argyle International Airport, the Argyle International Airport, and now the new port in Kingston. Those 2 projects are in what we call our productive sector. Excuse me, transportation and trade. Those are productive sectors. So it stands to reason that those 2 projects should be contributing tremendously to the economic growth of our country. I asked the question some time ago in Parliament. I said, how are we doing with the Argyle International Airport? The Prime Minister said that the airport is operating at $300,000 in the red. And I sure is much more than that.
More than that.
$300,000 in the red. A $1 billion plus project which should be creating thousands of jobs, creating millions of dollars in export, creating millions of foreign exchange from tourism and other types of trade. What is the international airport doing to help develop this country? And don't come and tell me about, oh, Bramble and them, you hear them? They're criticizing the airport. They love to run and talk this foolishness. I am not criticizing the airport. I am saying to you that as a Vincentian taxpayer whose money had to go and pay back for the airport, I want to know how it is developing the country. Come and tell me.
So you need to see more export.
I need to see figures.
It's the same thing when we finish the port.
How many jobs is it going to create?
If we're going to import more.
How many 20-foot containers of produce are we going to be able to fill and export when the big boat and them come in and instead of having to leave empty? How many times does a Merry Jet come in out Argyle? What are they bringing and what are they taking out? That is what I mean when I ask the question, how are these projects contributing to the development of our country? I am not saying that they're not necessary. And let me make it clear, because I don't know how they love go and spin, the spin doctors and them. But I the right one for them, you know. Because when they spin, I pace in. I bowl in bouncer when them spin.
All right. I have somebody holding at me. See, good afternoon. You still there?
Yeah, man, me not go away. Me not only home me I go somewhere if me there, and even after me there, I go hear me voice everything out your subconsciousness. Fitz, I like a really game them today. No,
That sound like Max.
man, I don't know no matter for me, me could the Mars, me could the Venus, me could the Jupiter,
Yes,
me name
brother.
is
Yes,
very
brother.
you and me have to stay in touch.
Yes, man.
Now, I wanna address the thing that I'm going to have to NDP thief in them idea. I want to give all you a news flash. If ULP had implemented these ideas and the ideas was being flourishing, NDP would have had a chance to thief them. So you should shame.
Exactly.
You should shame to say that somebody thieving all your ideas because all you're spending money. Ideas that all you say was going to implement and the ideas and them have to be implemented. So you should shame. That just goes to show all you willfully failing the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that the fact that NDP could thief all your ideas, that all you promise the people, spend money, but the ideas are still ideas and they haven't come to fruition. First and foremost. So if people are really listening with their consciousness, they should be upset with the ULP that they're spending our taxpayers' money, but the ideas have not gone past the idea phases.
Thanks, Max. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Hello? You're going to make another point?
One more point I want to make.
Go ahead.
We definitely need a port. We definitely need a better port. But all you think companies who have established with Barbados and other ports, Barbados to come to St. Vincent? Think about that. Because logistically, Barbados is in a position right out there to the west of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that ships are more efficiently could touch Barbados than to detour and come to St. Vincent. So, whatever sell we, and one more point before I go real quick. When they were selling us sandals, they say farmers and fisher folks is gonna be selling to sandals. And I tell all you, sandals and rainforest is two brothers.
Yep.
Them they go bypass their brothers who go buy from all you. Not long ago, the Prime Minister said they're not gonna be buying from farmers. I hope all realize I may lie sometimes. I want to keep up the program too long. Later.
Yeah, man.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, man.
All right. So, yeah.
Listen, let me just finish off on this plan because it's so many of the objectives in here that they have failed to deliver. And we gonna continue to use this here to draw them out and to show the people of this country where these guys make promises and break promises. They're breaking more than they're making out. I think you have a call coming in.
Yeah, let me see if good afternoon, Newtimes.
Morning, boy, Mr. Bramble. Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Now, I just want to add to what Mr. Bramble pointed out about the two largest projects. And the problem is, there's no use going to do these projects. Put no training system in place for locals to get the jobs. So you bring in a whole heap of foreigners to build the port, build the airport, and they go about the business. And now we still have to tax the locals to pay for the project.
Hello?
That's just, yes.
I didn't clearly hear what you said. Sorry.
Okay.
Could you go over that for me, please? Thanks.
You had the two largest projects, the airport and the port. But instead of training locals to employ them, you employ foreigners to do the projects. And then at the end of the airport and soon to be the port, when it ends, we are left with loans to pay. And if the locals now, you're going to tax to pay the loans when all the foreign workers then come and go on with their share of the money. Then they work for it. But they not allow the local to develop themselves, the opportunities to learn in whatever trade that you are going to use to build these projects. It's the same thing they do with the hotel in Diamond. How come API didn't go down with a tour with the Prime Minister, but he's touring the port every minute and talking about standards, but he's not talking about the hotel down Diamond. If you go down there, St. Trinidadians, Bajans, all body walking down there. Hardly any intentions. When they go on away, they go on with the money. but we have a building to pay for that NIS money they're using to pay for that hotel.
I hear you loud and clear. All right, thanks.
But let me say something quickly on what that caller just said.
Fitz, what I'm gonna do, and for the benefit, I will go right through to just about 20 past.
Okay.
And then I'll just double up in the breakdown. So we'll go right through.
No problem.
So within your presentation, I'll also take the calls.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me force it seem to have gone. All right. So go ahead.
Yeah, the last caller, he talked about how we have other nationalities working here, and that is an issue that I find we downplay it too much. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be welcoming of other people coming into, particularly Caribbean people. We have the CSME, which is a whole other issue that I plan to talk about at some point again, and opportunities for people in the Caribbean generally. And Vincentians just the same. We go to other countries and we work. But here's the problem I have. As the caller just said, the last caller just said, you can't be bringing in foreigners to work in our country, doing jobs that you have locals with competence to do. I was down Bottom Tongue the other day, Rose Place, as my good friend Junior would like to tell me. He said he ain't from Bottom Tongue, he from Rose Place. And I'm from Bottom Tongue. I go down the other day, and I was there chatting with them fellas down in the block there. A fella come, he said, Bramble, you see that port there? And the man was real incensed, and I could understand why. He said, you imagine if they had 3 fellas from Bottom Tongue working on that port, they have plenty. And here but listen to the alarming thing was, he said, Bramble, they have a Jamaican working on that project. And you know what his job is? His job is to open and close the gate with the truck and them going in. They say, I telling you, so I watched my brother. I said, boss, you can't be serious. I said, man, you're making up stories. He said, Bramble, if I lie here today, God strike me down. They have a Jamaican opening and closing the gate for the trucks and them to come in. Now, I don't know. There might be more to the story, so because I trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe on that day, the person who does do the job wasn't there, so somebody. I don't know, but it puts into perspective. It puts into perspective the fact that this Unity Labour Party government under Dr. Ralph Gonzalez really and truly does not genuinely care about the meaningful development of Vincentians. He could come and talk all the nonsense, but how much scholarship they give it. Well, not nonsense. All of that is well and good. You give away scholarships, you have people on the YES program. But come and show me how the average man and woman in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been improving their lives since you came into office. That is what I'm interested in. Of course, we don't expect you as a government to do everything wrong or everything bad. Come on, people not stupid. You're there for 23 years. You must do a couple things good. Give me a break.
Man, this is crazy.
So look again. Let me tell you. Let me finish off with this plan. Another objective they have is to develop and maintain a peaceful, safe, and secure environment. That's what the plan say. And they have failed again, but, and listeners, for the last 2 years, we have had the highest rate of homicides in this country since this country's existence.
True.
Since you started recording crime and homicides and so on. The highest. So how are you going to tell me in your plan? This is supposed to be your flagship document. This is supposed to be your Bible that is guiding your government's performance. And you have failed miserably in so many aspects. And you still coming and talking foolishness, but hit them for 6. Camelo jersey and them don't come in, Camelo t-shirt and them don't come in. From the back of it, they mark, hit them for 6. I know you don't want to know how I know that. But I know. I've seen them. If I tell you, I was in the position I was in, I couldn't get to take a picture. But I saw them on the back of his jersey, hit them for 6, and on the front of the jersey, he has like a small logo with the picture. You understand? So them talking about hit for 6 and people suffering like this in this country.
You know what I mean?
I agree with them, I agree with them.
It's all about them.
6. We hitting them for 6. You see Andre Russell this morning?
Oh, yes.
7-6 says he hit them for. Well, we hitting them for 15 sixes. We want every single constituency. Hit them for 15 sixes. That's what we need to do. So, finally, there are some others, but in the interest of time, the last one I'm going to highlight. Under goal number 4, where they say, in this National Economic and Social Development Plan, the government of the Unity Labour Party and Dr. Gonzalez said, goal number 4, improving physical infrastructure, preserving the environment, and building resilience to climate change. One of the objectives under this goal is this. Listen to this. To upgrade the road network in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Since 2013 and about. But listen, we need, you know what I think we need to do? We need to make some little snippets of this plan. Make some little flyers. You know, long ago, you used to have a helicopter flying and just fly go all these flyers and people want to pick them up to read. Well, we don't need to do that now because we are social media. But we could balance the two. We could go and distribute. We really need to. I don't want to say educate our people. Our people are very educated. But sometimes information eludes us. And we, as the government in waiting, we need to continue to be relentless and let people know. Let people know. Don't let Ralph come from radio and bamboozle people and mama guy people and come with all these sweet talk and all this thing, talking, having press conference for 4 hours and saying nothing and all this kind of stuff. Feed the people meaningful information so the people could know. And this is why they have been accused of being lacking accountability. Not accused, not just accused, the evidence is there. When you come into parliament, you bring in supplementary estimates and all of that, violating the regulations and all these kinds of things, spending money that you're not supposed to spend without permission and bringing it in parliament after the fact and all these kinds of things. And people in St. Vincent trying to defend these. This is what has hurt me. I respect every individual's choice of political party. I respect your choice of political philosophy and what have you. I have no problems with that. But come on, for the life of me, there's certain things. If you're in a fire and the fire burning you, you're going to still say you feel cold. Come on. We have to be realistic. It's just like in our family board. You know, I grew up with my mother in a single parent home. And as much as my mother loved me, anytime I do something wrong, she rebuking me and licks like peas and all them things there. So, because you love your party and because you love the comrade, you go swallow everything with the comrade do. If the comrade take a fish hook and push it down your throat or push a hook in your gill, you go take it and say, yes, comrade, that is true. Yes, comrade, that is good. Come on, man. And that is why Dr. Gonzalez and the Unity Labour Party has been getting away with impunity and with political impunity at that. Because the people who are supposed to make the change, the conscious people of this country, some of them, they're turning a blind eye. Some of them turning a blind eye, and we need to stop that.
Let me see if somebody trying to get in on the WhatsApp. Let me see if I could get them in. Some issues with you.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. You hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, Fitz, I like how you're firing there, you know, and I was just doing my own political analysis. It's 40 years since the NDP win East Kingston seat. I want you to take it up to 50 years and more if you can.
I appreciate that, my brother Dave. I appreciate
that.
You
have to be relentless, because when all is said and done, it's a whole set of lies and make believe for those of us who can't see what the ULP is carrying on with. Real propaganda as far as Dave Roberts is concerned. And don't be afraid, as you say. You have to be relentless, because it is after 23 years, the biggest joke I got is when I hear Carlos James say they're going to build an administrative complex in North Leeward. to take care. So wait, I am sure Shadwell is a port of entry. So they have no kind of, no kind of office down there or any sort of, as a port of entry? Come on, man. After 23 years now, they're now catching themselves. Anyhow, all the best to you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I think MP Bramble seemed to have dropped out. I hope he's get back in. He seemed to have dropped out. Not too sure what happened there. I have somebody on the. Let's see. Good afternoon. Are you there? Hello.
Yes, boss. A blessed afternoon.
Good day.
Yes, and Mr. Bramble. I hear
Wait,
you
just
like
a second. I think he's trying to come back in on the WhatsApp. So just hold a while. Let me see if I could get him there too. Good. Fitz, are you there?
Yeah, but I don't know what happened. I lost
I just see
connection.
it freeze up and then he seemed to have dropped out. Okay, but I have somebody on the Magic Jack. Let me see if you can hear them and they can hear you. Good afternoon, caller. You there?
Yeah.
But
yes, boss.
You're kind of scruffly, but I don't know.
Are you hearing the caller, Fitz?
Mr. Bramble, good afternoon.
Let them speak. Let them speak, and I'll tell you.
Yes, Mr. Bramble, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Francis, good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Bramble, thank you to clarify a little things that I did worry about, but I still have some concern about it. Is when you mentioned concerning that, money that we borrow and, and get debt forgiveness. But my main concern, right, Mr. Bramble, is this, that government we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? They just keep borrowing and borrowing. Okay? My main concern is this. When the NDP get into office, right, I would like to know if they're going to get debt forgiveness for some of those money that the government is borrowing. 1 second, don't cut in it. 1 second. The reason for this is that since the NDP in government, we hear that they're doing projects and no accountability, right? So if you not giving accountability,
you said the NDP.
That's what I'm saying. I said the NDP keep complaining about the government in office is not giving accountability for the money that they're borrowing and spending. So that is why I also mentioned that I hope we could get debt forgiveness, because if, like how you say, the man on the street want to build a house, buy a car, we have to show all kind of approved documents, job letter, name it. We have to bring this to carry to show that we could pay back the money. The government at the day, right? I would like to know what they're showing to this country to say that the country of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines can afford to pay back these debt. Because I want to know if they don't hear that these people is not giving the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines accountability for the money that they're borrowing and spending. So it is really ironic, because if the people, on the other hand, if the people did not elect these people, because they did by themselves, we did not elect them. We know how they get this. So I want to know those countries that they're borrowing this money from, if they don't follow what's going on in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So because the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines not supposed to be whole accountable for these monies, and we're supposed to pay it back. So that is why I want to know, when the NDP get it, I hope we get debt forgiveness, because we have a lot of projects to put on. We have a hospital to build. Now the road them in condition. And I remember those roads in my young days growing up. When election come around in Labour time, they drive around and damn quarry racing them from down by the police station, go right up to Port Home. You can say I from Calicut, so I know the whole running how it used to run. So Bramble, these are my main concern. I hope that we're gonna get that forgiveness, because we have project to go on in the country for the poor class of the people. And one more thing before I go, and I go now. When the pamper set in Parliament and say that how much money they are spending, and we have St. Vincent and the Grenadines in a dire state of poverty, and they're bragging about that, none of that money trickling down to our people. You guys have a blessed day.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. You can hear me, bud?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The point that the caller made, the points are very, very valid, very, very effective points. And of course, debt forgiveness is one of the mechanisms that would be at our disposal. We would have to be able to negotiate, and I know that we have a team of people with the negotiating skills. We have friends. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has friends all over the world, countries, international organizations, international financial institutions. And those are not just friends, those are friends of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They're not friends of Ralph Gonzalez and the Unity Labour Party only. So when Dr. Gonzalez is voted out of office and we take over, we also have the privilege and the opportunity of leveraging those relationships and negotiating for debt forgiveness, which is one of the tools, as I said before, that would be in our toolbox. Of course, we would also have to look at the more sustained approach of growing the economy, creating jobs for people, and generating enough foreign exchange so that you can pay back the debt that you already have, that we're going to meet there. And also, you would be in a position to be able to lower, to borrow less, because if your economy is thriving and running on all cylinders, the need to borrow so much will not be as large. Of course, you're building important projects like a hospital and these kinds of things. And as I said before, those are in the non-productive sectors. So our productive sector, the 4 pillars that we keep talking about, and that we know for a fact will grow our economy: agriculture, tourism, the blue economy, and the new economy, will create so much vibrancy and so much growth in our economy that we will be able to generate enough revenue to pay for a hospital, to pay for the Performing Arts Center, to pay for the National Stadium, and these kinds of things. So the caller is right on point.
Definitely.
And this thing about accountability, it reeks smacks in the face of corruption, because if you can't account for the people's money, then it sends a message that you're more than likely involved in corruption.
True.
Because people don't know what's going on.
And you're coming back. You're not accounting for what you get, but you want more.
Exactly. And then it begs the question: what are you doing with the money then? I have heard so many stories that I gotta save some of those comments for Parliament, because in Parliament I ain't gonna compromise Dougie's station today.
Fitz, because of the break and so forth, we kind of running out of time. The situation. So we have a couple of minutes. If I give you that to wrap up, I wanted to get your feedback on the manner in which most of the playing fields are closed, but you'll take that another time because
we could do that another time. That is cause for concern. But listen, but I want to finish by reading a letter that I wrote to the Minister of Finance. Okay, it's not a long letter, but it is important because I want the people of East Kingston to know. Well, they already know, but I want them to be reassured of the level of representation that I am providing, and the Herculean task that I have ahead of me, having to deal with this ULP administration in trying to get things for East Kingston. I read it I made reference to it in Parliament, and the Minister of Finance come and talk about, look, you say East Kingston, you ain't getting nothing, but you're getting. Look what we're doing down Sand Hill playing field. And we're going to be putting the new Parliament building there. And we're going to be putting this there. Those are not East Kingston projects. They're projects which are situated in East Kingston. But they're not projects designed for East Kingston people specifically, and with that in mind. So I know how the budgetary process works, board. And I wrote him a letter, because I said, boy, I really need to find some way for them to really give something to the constituencies which did not vote for them. Here you go and brag and talk about the East St. George budget, and you wonder why? Because they're neglecting constituencies like East Kingston. On August the 29th, 2023, I wrote him this letter. It's not a long letter, so it won't take long. It's addressed to the Honorable Camilo Gonzalez, Minister of Finance. and the reference budget 2024. Dear Minister, and this letter is from me to Camelo. Dear Minister, as the 2024 financial year approaches and preparations are already underway to present the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the coming year, I wish to bring a few things to your attention. The budgetary preparatory process lacks meaningful and direct involvement of all elected members of parliament. I have, on previous occasions, highlighted this fact and have called for a revision of the process to be more inclusive. To date, nothing has changed in this regard. I therefore reiterate the need for the budget preparatory process to be more constituency focused, hence necessitating greater involvement of elected constituency representatives, at least in the discussions. I am confident that this approach will result in a more realistic budget, which will be more effectively implemented. I anticipate serious consideration of my suggestion. In the absence of the participation of elected opposition members of parliament in the design and preparation of the estimates and budget, I am therefore kindly requesting consideration of the following for the constituency of East Kingston for the 2024 financial year. 1. Construction of sidewalks along the Roseau Main Road, considering the heavy vehicular traffic during morning and afternoon rush hours. 2. Construction of bus terminals in Maurice Village, Rockies, Roseau, and Walvaroo. 3. Road improvement in the constituency to include the smaller roads which are in terrible conditions. 4. Construction of bathroom and change room, toilet facilities, and seeking and recreational facilities at Sion Hill Beach. 5. Completion of the upgrading of the Rockies Community Center to include a kitchen, furniture, and equipment, including appliances. 6, provision of a vendor's market at Sion Hill. Let me mention here that the aforementioned are but some of the concerns and requests of the constituents of East Kingston, but are in no way exhaustive. In the spirit of reasonableness, though, I believe that this is a fair request, which I hope would be favorably considered. I will be happy to meet with you and the relevant professionals in your ministry to discuss if necessary. The only reply I got to this, when I sent the email with the attachment, he said he received my letter and he sent it on to Baxter for the consider it. Not a single word, board. Not a single word. And we talk about accountability, and you come in and bragging about East St. George budget. The point I'm making, board, in conclusion, is that this Unity Labour Party government does not care. They do not really care in the true meaning of the word care. They do not care about the development, the improvement of the quality of lives for the average man on the street and woman on the street and in households and in villages and in communities and in towns and in cities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we in the New Democratic Party, under Dr. Friday's leadership will change all of that. And Vincentians will be able to feel proud again and to feel that they have a meaningful stake in the development of their country, this blessed land of ours, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you for having me today, board.
Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure. Look forward to doing this again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've come, going to take the